It's enormous, and there are so many different aspects of it. But bear in mind, for decades, there's been a contingency plan for exactly this event, and it's been reviewed on a regular basis, annually, and then more frequently over those years as personalities have changed, even as traffic conditions in London have changed, and as institutional arrangements have changed. So it's a matter of finishing off the plans rather than starting afresh. With no plan at all.
But how can you estimate how many people will come to London? It's just simply impossible to do.
It is simply impossible. It's going to have to be an educated guess. You can look back at how many people came to see the Queen Mother.
Yes.
But ultimately, no, it's going to be guesswork, and the officers in charge are going to have to adjust their arrangements as the day goes on, as the situation develops. I understand they've got something like 1,500 military personnel to help.
Yes.
And they've also got police officers from every force in the country moving down to London.
10,000 police officers involved in this operation.
That figure sounds about right to me, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Well, so we're watching these scenes from St Giles's of the Queen's 4 children standing vigil. But clearly what's going to happen in Westminster Hall is they're talking about airport security, but you can't stop and strip search everybody, can you? I mean,
you can't stop and strip search everybody. You can put them through
metal detectors.
But the security operation will be far, far wider than that. There will be threat and risk assessments being prepared by our own internal security service, by MI6.
Yep.
There'll be liaison with foreign intelligence services from right across the world. It's probably the biggest single international event ever. And who knows what the threats are against some of the more distant countries until we ask.
Yeah. And the American president being told that he's going to have sort of, well, not quite get on a minibus, but I think we're going to provide accommodation for the American president to get to the cathedral. But numbers, huge numbers of people. What happens if hundreds of thousands of people just fill up London? What on earth do the police do in a situation like that?
The police will manage them. People are going to be good-natured. This is not going to be any sort of protest event. This is not protesting against the community charge or something like that. This is people wanting to come, to be respectful, to pay their respects, to be part of a historic event. This is not a public order problem. It's a problem of facilitating people to do what they perfectly legitimately want to do.
So these are people that might just take an instruction?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they will.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I do hope so. And in terms of, you mentioned MI6, liaison with foreign intelligence. I mean, how does it work? Do the security services sort of literally check every facing building? Or, I mean, how do they do this work?
That won't be a job for the security service. That will be a job for the police.
Will it? OK.
Indeed, I've done that job myself many years ago for some state events. And it is a matter of looking at the principal buildings, what their contingency plans are, what their security is, to make sure that a stranger doesn't get into the building and have a good sight down onto an event. And most of these things are routine. It is only a matter of making sure they're up to date, making sure that they know what they're doing.
So that work's already been done?
Most of that's already been done. It will need to be looked at again, and I'm sure it is being looked at again now.
Yeah. And a new boss of the Met just taken over?
Yeah, it's a tricky time for the new boss to take over, but the reality is...
Tell me about him. Mark Rowley, tell me about him.
Unusually, a maths graduate, Cambridge maths graduate. He's a bright cookie. Wide experience both in the Met and in Surrey. He was a very successful Assistant Commissioner Counter-Terrorism and retired very honourably, got a knighthood, went into industry and has now come back to serve. Londoners could do a great deal worse than Mark Rowley.
Yeah, it's a very, very broad breadth of experience of life, isn't it?
It's a very broad breadth.
But what a time to take over. I mean, he takes over with the biggest operation you say London almost may ever have seen.
He does, but he has a very good team working for him, and that team have been working for this event for, as I say, decades. And, since we knew exactly when it was going to happen, everybody will be working in overdrive.